All right, there's a couple of stories that are up on the website about Common Core today. There is my appearance on Bill O'Reilly last night, also this. This is an amazing story. This is about a school board president who, mom of 6 or I think 8, came and was speaking out, and the guy didn't realize that he was on an open mic. He's the president of the school board and called her fat and chubby wubby, gets fatter every time she comes. And he's been, thank goodness, expelled. It's crazy, the disrespect that is going on now. Parents are getting no respect at all, but it's about to get much, much worse. As Kyle Olson and I describe in the new book, Conform, there is something that you will find on page 65, the White Privilege Conference. I'm going to quote from the book. This is White Privilege Conference 14. Bob Jensen said, "Rich people have a lot of problems, a lot of moral problems, partly because they have no soul. Capitalists are not human." I want you to watch this video, and I want you to know that there were 2,500 people at this conference. Most of them were administrators and educators. Some high school students were there. Volunteers for these administrators as well. This has been happening 15 years. You're paying for it. And I want you to look at this room when you see it and see 2,500 people and ask yourself, when was the last time you were at a Tea Party rally where they had 2,500 people sitting in a room and listening to experts talk? Look at what's happening to the officials in our schools and what they're trying to teach the teachers to teach your children. Watch.
White supremacy has been embedded in the United States of America from its founding.
And right now, I'm going to suggest to you that race is driving almost everything that's happening in the country.
Does having a black president change that? Has it changed that? Unfortunately, it hasn't, is it? He ends up being the front man for the system. So instead of just saying, oh, we're happy there's a black face in the White House, who's running the White House instead of just serving in the White House, it's like, no, the master's house is now got a black face, but it's still the master's house. He works for the master of the system of white privilege.
So what do I mean by Christian hegemony? Very simply, I define it as the everyday, pervasive, deep-seated, and institutionalized dominance of Christian values, Christian institutions, leaders, and Christians as a group, primarily for the benefit of Christian ruling elites. So that's very similar to how we might define racism or sexism or other systems of oppression. Every day in our lives, it's pervasive.
Hi, I'm Abby Ferber, and I'm here as a white ally to the facilitators of this caucus. I want to honor this space as one for people of color and indigenous people. If there are any white people here, I request that you come with me outside so that we can talk about why it's so important that we have this space for people of color. And I urge you to use this opportunity to talk about it with me if you have questions or concerns. And so I urge other white people like me to come with me and honor this one opportunity for people of color to have their own space. Thank you.
The problem is, because this is a white supremacist and white privilege-based society, and that white privilege and racism manifests itself here throughout the day as well, people of color feel they need to have a safe space among themselves at the end of the day to kind of debrief the emotion and the suffering and the pain in which they've experienced even throughout the day.
I just have two questions. One, do you think that racism could be defined as discrimination against somebody based off the color of their skin?
No.
No? Well, how would you define racism?
I would define that as discrimination. Racism is discrimination plus an institutionalized system of power. And so
that would still be okay. A racist action would be discriminating against somebody because of...
In our nation,
the color of their skin.
racism, white people do not experience racism. White people can experience discrimination, but not racism.
And do you think discrimination is a bad
That's how I define it as a
thing?
sociologist.
And would you define discrimination as something intrinsically
say it
bad?
one more time.
No, I wouldn't say it's intrinsically bad because we discriminate all the time in our daily life. Who we want to be friends
Discriminating
with. We discriminate
based
based
off
on
of
what
skin
neighborhood
color.
we want to live on.
Discriminating based off of skin color.
There are times.
Is that intrinsically bad?
No, I don't think anything's intrinsically bad. As a sociologist, I think context means everything. History and context. And in some contexts, I think some things are
Rape
appropriate.
isn't
In other
intrinsically bad?
contexts, it's not.
I think I have to start with the last piece of that. Rape isn't an absolute? How is rape
That's
not
right.
an absolute?
That's how crazy. Well, it was a sociologist that said that, and apparently everything is relative. And see, that's one of the foundational problems here, is that there is no moral absolute. Everything is relative. And so they are pushing these sorts of ideals and ideas on very young kids. The video that we'll release tomorrow, on Thursday, is elementary teachers talking about how they inject and infuse this sort of rhetoric into the elementary classroom. And so here you've got elementary teachers pushing this stuff out. And see, one of the other clips that we have is someone saying, you know, if we're teaching the Reconstruction at 11th and 12th grade, that's too late. We need to be getting to 4- and 5-year-olds.
Oh my gosh. Kyle, help me out on, last night I was on O'Reilly and he said, you know, I read these sentences that you're supposed to correct. And one of them is the president has absolute power. You have to obey whatever the president says, things like that. And I realized they don't care about the wrong answer. When you get math, they keep saying, we don't care about right answer, wrong answer. We care how you got there. The same could be said. It doesn't matter what your score is. You're being indoctrinated with this nonsense. And so if you're continually seeing these things, hearing these things, it doesn't matter if you can correct the sentence. That's not really what they're looking to do.
Right. And we're seeing these examples all over the country. Our website talked about how a teacher in New York literally grabbed language from the PETA website, created an informational text that the text was about how it's bad to have pets in the classroom, and then kids were supposed to read that, and then they were supposed to analyze that for sentence structure. That is the danger with these informational texts. When you combine the activists in the classroom with the ability to infuse this sort of rhetoric into what kids are learning, it's a recipe for propaganda and for changing America.
When Bill asked me last night, why would these capitalists, why would Bill Gates, why would these Republicans want to put this in the classroom, the Jeb Bushes? My answer was because they're in with the big business, and I should have said, because do you know how much money the data alone is worth? Data, metadata is the biggest cash cow of them all. How would you have responded to that? Why are the Jeb Bushes involved?
I did watch. Sure. I think it's because Jeb Bush, Mike Huckabee, others, they are comfortable with a large federal government telling states what they can and cannot do. It's just they think that they can manage it better than the Barack Obamas of the world. But the point is, you still have a large federal government telling states what they can and cannot do. And so I think they have no problem with race to the top, with these No Child Left Behind waivers and all of that sort of thing, because they don't have a problem with the feds dictating what people can do.
It's like Romney Care. They think they can reform Obamacare and make it work. A lot of this is in the book Conform, and we urge you to get it, read it, pass it on to a friend. It's what's really happening, and it's so far beyond Common Core. Can we quick switch gears and go to what's happening in Oklahoma? Because we're on a timeline. That was supposedly, Common Core was all ripped out of the schools, but that's not what's happening now.
No, there is a bill that's going back and forth between the House and the Senate. It's supposedly in conference committee right now, which would get Oklahoma out of Common Core. They've already gotten out of the federally funded tests, but there is fatigue in getting this done. And one of the reasons that there's fatigue is because it's an election season. Everyone wants the governor's endorsement and wants her help to get reelected. And the dirty little secret with Oklahoma is that the governor there, Mary Fallin, is chairman of the National Governors Association, which holds the the copyright on the Common Core standards. And so if Oklahoma was to fall, many other states would fall as well, and they can't have that happen.
So what do people do?
So they need to call Representative Nelson, who has been the one in the House pushing this bill. They need to call their legislator and say, we need to get Common Core out of our state, and we need to stop being paralyzed by the feds, because my understanding is these legislators are paralyzed that the feds are going to come in and they're going to take away their No Child Left Behind waiver. They're going to take away their money. They're going to do all of these penalties. But what they should do is step back and say, wait a minute. The feds are telling us to do all of this stuff. This is not our education system anymore. This is the feds' education system. So they should stand up to the feds.
Thank you very much, Kyle. I appreciate it. Kyle is the co-author of Conform. It is available at glennbeck.com, in bookstores, Amazon, wherever. Just grab a copy. We've made it as inexpensive as we possibly could and jam-packed it full of facts. And the best thing is, all of the footnotes are all in the back, so you don't have to trust me. You don't have to trust Kyle. Look it up yourself. Back in a minute.